problem. You have a book buying problem, not me. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, yes, that's right, it's time for another book haul. Now, I was going to wait a little bit longer to film this because I actually have some more books coming, but I've gotten to the point where I have too many for my shelf where I keep them before I actually do a haul video, and so it is time to do the book haul video. Now, before I get into books that I've acquired myself, I do want to note some books that I received from some other people and give them some shout outs here. So we're going to start with that, and the first one is Jade City by Fonda Lee. Now this actually I got as my gift in the Wizardly Duo Wiser gift exchange. We did kind of like a Christmas in June, July type thing for fun, and did a book exchange, and this was sent to me by Dunadan in the Discord. And this is one where I keep hearing really mixed things, because I've heard some people around who absolutely love it, some who absolutely hate it, so I'm interested to see what my take is, so excited to give this one a read. This is about kind of like gangsters and like, you know, family crime organizations in, I believe, an Asian-inspired type of city, and it involves specifically, like, jade is really, really important, I think, and is used for magic. And so I'm excited to see this and see which camp I fall into. Maybe I'll love it, maybe I'll hate it. Won't know until I give it a try. Next up is The Bone Ships, which is by R.J. Barker. I wanted to say A.J. Parker for some reason, but that's only kind of close. But R.J. Barker, The Bone Ships, and this was sent to me by Megan from Megan's Reading Revelations, and I'll link her channel down below. And this is, it's interesting, and I think probably she was interested the same reason I was, where it's about like people who made ships out of the bones of dragons. So some aspects of that reminded me of some Robin Hobb work. I won't say too much because I don't want to give anything away. And then basically, like, there are no more dragons, so they can't make any more of the bone ships. Then all of a sudden they discover like a dragon or some dragons, and there's a race for people to go hunt them so they can make more ships. So this is another one that sounded pretty interesting, that I definitely appreciate Megan sending to me. And then, which was specifically noted as being because he appreciated it how much, or he appreciated very much when I fell out of my chair on a reading sprint, I think it was. Patrick, who is just way too nice and sends way too many books to people, sent me Fireborn by Rosaria Munda. And this is one I've heard several people talk about, but specifically John Walker Wright 7, his channel. And he's talked a lot about this and really, really, really enjoys this and the sequel. So this is another one I had been meaning to get at some point but had not seen. So thank you, Patrick, for sending this one to me as well. Now we get the big boy. We are doing, as a reminder, and check a link in the description for the Discord as well, but we are starting in August the Wizardly Duo Discord official buddy read for Memory of Sorrow and Thorn. And they're just off screen. I have the first two books, The Dragonbone Chair and The Stone of Farewell. Just like days after in a video that I hadn't even posted yet, commented about how I still needed to get to the Green Angel Tower, this behemoth arrived in the mail, and this was sent to me by my good friend Andrew at Andrew's Wizardly Reads. I'll of course link his channel down below as well. And I'm so excited to read this. This is like, I knew it was huge, but especially looking at this thing, this is a thick book. You do get 2 months for this one, for the record, if you're planning on joining. So even though it's a real big, thick boy, you get 2 months to finish it. So it's like reading like 2 reasonable sized books, just 1 a month almost. So very excited for those ones, and once again, just thanks everybody for sending me these books. I feel like unexpected book mail is the best possible mail when you aren't expecting a package and you open it up and you're like, what's this? Did I order something I forgot about? Did my wife order something I didn't know about? But no, it's a book, and like that is the greatest surprise. So nobody should ever feel any sort of obligation to send me books, but I definitely appreciate the people who do, out of the kindness of their heart, send me books. Always just brightens the day. So some other ones, we're moving on to books that I did purchase, but I'm I'm starting with specifically 3 books that I'm very excited for, and then we're going to kind of go in no particular order because the rest of these are not organized whatsoever. But I have been meaning for quite some time to read some Michael R. Fletcher books, and so I finally grabbed some. The first one I have is Beyond Redemption, and this is part of like the Manifest Illusions series, and I remember hearing about this, especially when Slowly Read did an interview of Michael Fletcher and talked about it, where basically it's in a world where like people, their thoughts or like what they think, if they believe something strong enough, it is like true, and so people start to take advantage of that, and you have some people who are like trying to get all these different people to believe something to basically like create a god that they'll have power but that they can control. And so it sounds super fascinating, and I was really excited to get that. And then also, because I've always, and immediately after I got these, I realized I probably should have gotten the fancier hardcovers, but I got the paperbacks. They're still really beautiful. We have Blackstone, Heart, and She Dreams in Blood. These are the first 2 books in the Obsidian Path series by Michael R. Fletcher. And I'm actually just going to read the back of Blackstone Heart because I love the way this sounds, and it's going to be better than I can do it. It's short, don't worry. A broken man, Crane awakens alone and lost. His stone heart has been shattered, littered across the world. With each piece, he regains some small shard of the man he once was. He follows the trail, fragment by fragment, remembering his terrible past. There was a woman. There was a sword. There was an end to sorrow. And so, seriously, just sounds super interesting, and I was really excited to get these. I've been meaning to get into Fletcher for quite a long time, and after I was chatting to him in Slowly Read's Discord, I just like got excited and bought them. And also, completely unbook related, but I actually recorded a song with Michael R. Fletcher because he's also a musician and is just very talented. So I'll link down to that if you're interested in seeing it. I did the lyrics and the vocals, and he did all of the like instrumental and the editing and making it actually sound good. And it was pretty cool, and it was a ton of fun, so I'll link to that as well. And who knows, there may be more of those in the future. We'll have to see. Moving on to more of the books. Once again, these are in no particular order at this point. Next up, we have The Skystone by Jack White. And so this, it sounds like, is kind of like historical fiction following Arthurian legend to a bit. But also I think it's supposed to have some like kind of fantasy elements, although it's much more historical fiction is my understanding. And we follow an ex-Roman soldier who it sounds like actually starts like seeding the legends of Arthur and forges Excalibur. I used to love reading Arthurian legend just a ton when I was younger, and so Jack White's an author I've been meaning to try some of this stuff. I have another book of his that I'd gotten too. So I got this, I think, on Book Outlet for a really good deal. And I'm like, Arthurian legend, author I've been meaning to try. Let's give it a shot. The next up, speaking of authors that I just watch out for because I've heard are very good, we have, by Anthony Ryan, The Wolf's Call. And this is the first book in a series. And this, the plot of this reminded me a little bit of Legend, which I really enjoyed, so I thought it'd be really cool to see something a little bit more like up-to-date, newer, done with that kind of story. And it's our retired hero who fought in many wars and just kind of like went away and decided to live the quiet life, and then comes back to fight what seems to be an impossible war to save his lost love. It's kind of like classic fantasy type feel. Anthony Ryan, I've heard a lot of good things about. I've still not actually read anything of his. I have multiple books of his because I've been making sure to try to get them when I see them, because he's just one of those authors I've been watching out for. Next up, we have both I got, I think, on Book Outlet, Priest of Bones and Priest of Lies. The first 2 books in the series, The War for the Rose Throne. I couldn't remember the name. And so these are grimdark and sounded pretty interesting, and I know I've heard Mark talk about these before too, and some others as well. But it sounds like basically the main character, after coming back from war, finds out that his criminal empire has been taken over by his brother, who's formed a new gang, and so they're kind of like fighting, trying to reclaim the city, and also then some other like foreign forces end up coming into play as well. So this is something I've heard about, and I was able to get a really good deal on these, so I thought it'd be a good time to try them out. It's an author also I haven't tried, but books that I've just heard about around, so excited to try. Next up, we have The Left Hand of God by Paul Hoffman. Yeah, Paul Hoffman. Okay, for a second I thought, I'm like, was that right? It was. It's all good. But this basically sounds like it's based on, and this is starting to veer. This is one that I got because I needed extra stuff for shipping on Book Outlet. But sounds interesting. It's about like a boy. He's raised in a like really isolated sect of warrior monks, and he ends up like escaping or leaving or something for some reason, and going to like the capital city where there's just all kinds of debauchery and just completely things he's never been exposed to. And he ends up, it sounds like, getting into some trouble, discovering he likes violence, and then of course the warrior monks are going to come and hunt him down since he had left. So this is another one that sounded interesting premise. Don't know when I'll get to, but definitely one I'm excited to try. Now, I almost forgot about these. A couple of my really pretty books that I was super happy to get. And I've already talked about, I think, both of these in other videos, but I got the fancy Jurassic Park, the Barnes & Noble edition. So FYI, if you were looking for Barnes & Noble editions, they do have them, at least when I bought this, all back in stock online for the most part. So I had been really wanting to get this, but they were really expensive on eBay. And I have others that I bought that I paid too much for. I didn't realize were going to go back in stock. So this and a lot of others, definitely check it out if you like their editions. I really do. I have several of these, like The Eye of the World Behind Me, Monte Cristo, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So I really enjoyed most of these, so I'm super excited. Plus, this also has The Lost World, which I actually have not read yet, because I only bought a hardcover of Jurassic Park, because that's what I can find. And then the biggest book we have yet, this is the Complete Tales of Earthsea Illustrated Edition. This thing is also a freaking behemoth, just massive book. And this, also, I actually, believe it or not, this brand new, very expensive book I got on Book Outlet, and this retails at like $59.99. I paid like 20 something for it. And somebody posted about it in Discord, and it was gone within like 8 minutes. We had gotten all the remaining copies that they had. So I was super excited because I really wanted this because I loved Wizard of Earthsea when I was younger, and I don't know that I've read a lot of the other books in Earthsea actually at this point. But getting the whole thing, I saw it, and I'm like, oh, that would be beautiful. I love this book. And I was able to get it super cheap, so I went for it immediately. I'm very excited. We might be doing some sort of buddy read at some point. To get through that. So next up, I'm still mad about this. I decided, where's the other one? Because I know it's around here somewhere. Let me find it. Okay, I got it. It wasn't too hard to find, thankfully. Another time I was looking at Book Outlet, I think it might have actually been when I bought Earthsea, because I really just wanted that, and I needed to grab some stuff in order to meet the free shipping requirement and do it really quickly before all the copies were gone. And so I'm like, you know what? I can get some more Alexander Dumas, because I haven't read the Three Musketeers since I was in like early high school. That's when I read it, and Count of Monte Cristo is my favorite, and I ended up liking the Three Musketeers. So they had both the Three Musketeers and 20 Years After in hardcover. Now, first I'm going to show you what is reasonable, is 20 Years After. This nice hardcover, pretty standard. Also listed as hardcover was this copy of the Three Musketeers. This like little pocket book that looks like a miniature Bible, and I'm still really upset. Like it's not a terrible book. It's got like gold leaf and everything, but like this is, I'm not gonna read this. There is no way in hell I'm gonna read this tiny little book. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I still don't have a reasonable copy to read of the Three Musketeers, but I'm really annoyed at this because it was not. I went back and checked. You can even find it now. It does not say pocketbooks. It says hardcover. This is like literally, I think, the only time I've had something not as quite as advertised on Book Outlet. And in Book Outlet's defense, they actually do list the dimensions of the book. But I saw hardcover and I didn't even pay attention. So they did list that it was tiny. I still was not expecting that at all, and I'm annoyed about it. But hey, it is what it is. It's not something I was going to specifically read right away anyway, just I figured it'd be a good thing to own. So jumping into some half-price books ones I bought. First we have The Glass Dragon, which is the Dragon Nimbus book number 1 by Irene Radford. And this sounded interesting because it's like a world where like wizards and dragons coexist, and actually like dragons help the wizards do magic. But dragons are dying off, and also there's like mysterious forces that are hunting them. So we get a wizard who goes off on a quest, and I think there's a witch involved as well, to try to figure out who or what is destroying the dragons. in order to basically like save the last of the dragons. So it sounded a little bit different. Instead of going off hunting dragons, they're trying to save the dragons. And I mean, this is like a kind of a weird cover, but old school fantasy cover, dragons. When I'm at Book Outlet and I'm just grabbing random books, those are going to mostly be the kind of things that I get. So the next up we have The Night Watch by Terry Pratchett. And this is just, I'm trying to collect, which they're actually just, yeah, actually you can see those. There's most of them you can see. I'm trying to collect all of the Discworld books. I'm still reading through, so The Night Watch is just one that I needed. And it's a guards book, which I'm really excited for. I am doing publication order, though, so it'll be quite some time before I get to that one. But there it is. I'm still excited to have it. Next up, I told Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads that if the next time, because there were like 3 times it was there and I didn't buy it, if the next time I went to Half Price Books, if they still had Golden Sun, I'd buy it. And I hated Red Rising. I haven't talked about it in a while, so I don't know how many people know that. I know that's pretty controversial, but I hated Red Rising like a lot. And so I have no desire to read this, but I told him I would. It's not super long, and I've heard it's like infinitely better than Red Rising, so I'm definitely still not going to rush to get this. But I do have it. I will read it at some point, unfortunately, at this point. Maybe it'll blow me away, and I already said, too, if I end up reading Golden Sun and like loving it, then I will formally apologize to CK on the Discord as well, because I know she was really mad about all my Red Rising hate. But so we'll have to see. Next up, we have The Thousand Deaths of Arter Ben by Tyler Whitesides. And this one this cover looks super interesting. And this is like a heist book where basically this like thief extraordinaire is putting together a team for a heist against the High King. And then stuff happens, and maybe also the world's at stake, which was giving me some strong Mistborn vibes from the story. So that sounded really interesting. And just once again, look at that cover. It looks really beautiful. And the other books that it lists is first in a series also look really beautiful. This is a bit of a big boy, so it might take me a bit to get to, but looked really, really interesting. Then next we have The Swords of Silence by Sean Curry. And this was another I grabbed because I needed more Book Outlet books in order for an order. And that's a recurring theme in my book haul videos. It's one of the reasons I buy too many books. That and they're always having freaking sales. It's like every other day it gets posted in the Discord that like Book Outlet has a sale. And I'm like, I need to stop. But anyway, this one's a little bit different from everything else so far. But it sounded interesting. It follows like a Portuguese priest who's in Japan. And then the shogun, who's like the overlord of the area, outlaws his religion that he's been like preaching, I'm assuming, and is like basically threatening to massacre anyone who doesn't recant and follow the beliefs that are set by the shogun. And so that's kind of the tension in the setup. And this is an interesting one. Also not a super long book, so might have to try to get to that soon. But even for a random Book Outlet book, still sounds pretty interesting. Then we have, which this is not really my thing, but I ended up seeing this. This is The Burning Roses by S.L. Hong, and I ended up seeing something about this right after saying that in a tag that I like never read any retellings, and this is a retelling technically. It follows like a version of Red Riding Hood and also of this like Chinese myth legendary figure that I wasn't familiar with. But they were like both middle-aged and have to go out to fight these firebirds that are attacking a country, basically. And it apparently, I looked up a little bit more about this on Goodreads. It apparently does involve some other like fairy tales in there as well. So it sounded like it'd be interesting. And the thing about it is it's a novella. So this is a novella. Sounds pretty short and interesting. And so I've been meaning to try out some more retellings because I know a lot of people really enjoy them. So that is another one of those. And then, I'm not going to lie, I bought this for the name because this is called In the Shadow of the Gods. So it's one word different than The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Very different story, though. This is one that, the cover's pretty cool. That was the first part, cover buys, they're real. Cover is pretty cool, and it kind of has like a classic style fantasy story where there are these twin gods and like the creator gods who are their parents cast them down deep into the earth but they're trying to go back and fight their parent gods, and then a ragtag group of people on Earth are trying to basically stop the world from being destroyed by the twin gods taking over. This is a series too, I believe. This is the first book, or it's part of the series in general. So it'll be interesting, but it has that kind of classic feel, and I do like getting some more classic fantasy in there from time to time. I like a lot of modern fantasy, but I love me some classic fantasy too. And then, because mistakenly before I didn't get it thinking I already had it, and did not, I got the second 2 volumes of Revelations. I just read and did a review for Nolan recently, which was my first book, and I think I might start with the Legends one, is what I was thinking actually, but then after that I'd heard it makes more sense to start with Revelations, which was originally the one I was most excited in. So I probably will end up doing that because I have all 3 books of that now, and I don't have all of the Legends at this point, but I got really lucky and found both of those at half-price books and was very happy about it. Then we have, this is actually, I bought when I bought Jurassic Park, because I'd heard about it a couple times, The Coward by Stephen Arion. And this is another kind of retired hero coming back, but the twist here this time is it's a retired hero who's coming back, and basically all the tales about him are pretty exaggerated, and he's actually very cowardly, and is kind of trying to deal with everyone thinking he's a hero when really he's not. So it sounded like a really fun take on that kind of trope, and so that's one I'm pretty interested to read as well. Then we have, which is also, the book looks really cool. So this is Mordu by Alex Phoebe, I guess. And this one I actually had applied for an e-arc for and was denied, and now I think it might have been because the book was already out at that point, because I found this actually at half-price books. This is a UK hardcover, and it's slightly different size than all of my other hardcovers. It's smaller than a normal, but it's bigger than a club, and it's not the same size as like the paperbacks I have that are UK, or like the other paperbacks, so I don't know, it's weird, I don't know where it's going to go on the shelf, but really interesting looking art on there, and like the plot here is the city that this boy lives in is built on like the remains of a dead god. His mother can't take care of him, so sells him to some sort of like wizard who draws power from the flesh of the dead god, and then it's found out that he actually has some power of his own, and then the wizard is like trying to kill him or betray him or something, is what it sounds like from the description. So it seems kind of interesting. I don't know when I want to read this one. This one's a little longer too. But I remembered seeing it, and this is a brand new book that I found at half-price books. It's in pristine condition. I've seen books at like Barnes & Noble in worse condition than this, so I had to grab it. And finally, this is the one we're ending on, of course. The Stone in the Skull by Elizabeth Bear. Now this was definitely I needed to fill a book outlet order, because before the video, when I was looking back at this, I'm like, this doesn't even sound that good. I could be wrong, but the plot of this is a man and an automaton made of brass are like going on a journey to give a message from one king to another or something, and they get caught up in like all the different royals like fighting for dominance in the empire, and I don't know. This is going to be a very low priority. It sounds kind of odd. If you've read this or any of the other ones that I said I didn't know a lot about, definitely let me know. I definitely could be convinced to move things up or down based on what I hear about in the comments. So for sure, let me know about any of those ones. But those are the books I have in this particular book haul. Make sure to, like I said, comment. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you think I should bump up or down. And let me know your thoughts on there, or some other books that you've got recently or are excited to get. If you enjoy the video, make sure to give it a like. Don't forget, of course, to check the link in the description once again for the Wizardly Duo Discord and for the channels that I mentioned throughout this video. And of course, if you enjoyed this and want to see more of my content, make sure to subscribe.